All right, Eagle Nation, it is officially time for playoff football. All the records, all the stats, everything, throw it out the window. One game, win or go home. The question is, will the Eagles be the team that advances to the divisional round today? We will preview the matchup against the Packers, talk about a couple main keys for the Birds to get it done this weekend, and ultimately predict whether they will be the team that does move on. Welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Appreciate everybody being here all season long. Do me a favor, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this coverage. Over half of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so I would genuinely appreciate it if you could support our channel. All right, let's get into a couple quick things before we get to the matchup. I promise we have a lot to talk about, but the Eagles had 6 players make the All-Pro team. Shout out to Saquon. Shout out to Zach Bond. Imagine Zach Bond, who probably thought his job was going to change 10 months ago. He thought he might be out of the league. Now he's a first-team All-Pro. Never give up on your dreams. Shout out to AJ, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Jalen Carter, and the rest of the guys here on this list. Big honors, but we have bigger fish to fry, okay? The Eagles and the Green Bay Packers have won 25 games in the regular season combined. That is the most ever in a wild card game. Another main stat here is that the Packers are the youngest team ever in postseason history. Last year, they were the youngest. This year, they set that record yet again. All right, it is playoff week, and I can't even begin to tell you how pumped up I am. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. And ladies and gentlemen, I've seen a lot of comments, a lot of discussion this week. Love it all, appreciate it all. If you are scared of this matchup, go get a puppy. All right, go do something. Go touch grass. Go do something. Look, I'm not saying discredit the Packers. They're a good, solid team. I'm not saying this is a normal wild card matchup, but what I am saying is the Philadelphia Eagles are 14-3. The Eagles are at home this weekend. They have been one of the most dominant, complete football teams all season. They deservedly are the favorite. They should be. They have been incredible. They haven't lost a game since week 5 when Jalen Hurts plays the whole game. Do we realize that? This team is so good. I understand, respect the opponent, don't undervalue them, but look at the Packers the last couple weeks, all right? The Packers are in turmoil. Somebody in their locker room this week said that they need to pretty much fix everything and get things aligned before the playoffs. It's giving very Eagles 2023 vibes. The Eagles are coming in off a couple wins in a row. They get their quarterback back. Apparently, according to reports, he looks good today and yesterday. And here we go. We're ready to ride at the link, get this W, and hopefully win a couple more games and get to New Orleans. So we'll talk about some of the keys. But again, just want to give an update quickly on Jalen Hurts. Lane Johnson says that he looked crisp, efficient, had a great practice in his first day back yesterday. And Jalen Hurts spoke to the media a few minutes ago. He says that the most difficult part of the last few weeks has been being out of his routine. Remember what I said last week? And this week, he's got to get in that flow, like just having 1 step, 2 step, like, the things he normally does, it's been completely different. So he's glad to be back in that rhythm, and he is ready to go into the playoffs. He says he's thankful the refs handled the concussion the way that they did. But, all right, Jalen, can you get the job done? Can the Eagles get the job done? We'll talk about our predictions and all of that in just a little while. But, ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about how the Eagles are going to come out in this game. They have been one of the worst first quarter teams in the league, and that's not my first official key, but it's just something that the Eagles need to keep in mind. You can't let a team like this, an underdog. Keep in mind, the Packers went into the playoffs last year. They blindsided the Cowboys. They smacked them in the face, and Dallas could never look back. You cannot have that happen in a cold environment in Philadelphia with the crowd loud and rowdy. You don't want to let that energy get sucked right out of the stadium. So, Eagles got to come in. What is the first key to winning this football game? It is stopping Josh Jacobs. All right. Obviously, we know Saquon is a 2,000-yard rusher, and he's been the best in the league this year. First team All-Pro. We get it, right? But Josh Jacobs has had a very sneaky good season. Everybody's talked about Saquon and Derrick Henry. If this Eagles front can come out and stuff Josh Jacobs early, I think it changes the entire dynamic of the football game, and I'll talk about why. But Josh Jacobs this season, 1,300 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns. Let's be honest, he's been incredible. He has, and in a normal season without this record chasing and stuff like that, I mean, Josh Jacobs would be highlighted a lot more. So He's been really good. You look at the Packers as a team, they're averaging 4.7 yards a carry, which is very, very effective. They run it a lot. They try to stick to that. They try to be consistent, and it helps alleviate some of the pressure off of Jordan Love. Does that sound familiar? Well, Eagles also are a consistent run team. They need to come out here and also win the run battle, but Kellen Moore has to come into this game and feed the rock to Saquon. Don't try to go away from what works. Don't overthink it. Come into the game, let your front go out there and stuff Josh Jacobs, and let Saquon ride it out to begin this game. No managing carries, none of that. It is the playoffs. It is win or go home. So the number one key for me is to stop Josh Jacobs. I'll even take it a step further, okay? If the Eagles stop Josh Jacobs in this game, there is 0% chance that the Packers are going to win. We'll talk about why in just a second, but I want to highlight a couple key stats in terms of the team itself. Because again, the Packers are not a normal wild card 8-win team. You know, they won 11 games. They're pretty good, but they are struggling the last couple weeks. And the Packers are top 10 in both offense and defense. Packers are 5th in offense. The Eagles are 8th. Then we look at defense. Eagles are number 1 by a mile. Green Bay Packers are number 6. But both of these teams are predominantly rushing teams, and that's what they've been predicated on this season. Eagles, 179 rush yards per game. Green Bay at 146. They are 5th, while the Eagles are 2nd. They both can put up some points. Eagles, 27.2. Packers slightly behind, 27.1, both in the top 10. So again, Packers have been a sneaky good team, but how do they win games? Like, what do the Green Bay Packers do? Let's go ahead and take a look at their schedules, because I think it is a big indicator of how this Packers team plays. They've beat down on some bad teams this year, but they've also lost a couple games that have been very close. They've won games that have been close. Quite frankly, the Packers are that type of team that's going to try to run it. They're going to try to keep it close and take away possessions from you. So ultimately, with this first key, stop Josh Jacobs, but the Eagles' O-line has to dominate the line of scrimmage. They need to open holes for Saquon, and this Eagles team needs to control time of possession. They need to not have one of these games where, you know, they only have 8 possessions in the game. That is the worst nightmare for a cold January playoff game. You want to give Jalen ample opportunity to get in his rhythm, to play well, and you want this team to have a lot of chances to score points. So I think the Eagles need to come out here and dominate time of possession, and they do that by Saquon riding it out, extending drives, moving the sticks, and just dominating on the ground. And I think the Eagles have the better O-line and D-line. Now, the second key is the quarterback. We talked about the rust, right? I think Jalen will be okay once he gets his rhythm going, but obviously we need to see it, right? We need to have some substance of that. And again, Kellen Moore has to make the game easier for Jalen Hurts. But let's talk about Jordan Love for a second, because you know, Jordan Love, like I said the other day, has that like boom or bust potential, but he also puts the ball in harm's way. So if the Eagles can win the turnover battle and force this guy into a bad throw, which I could see happening, I think that starting on a short field, getting some points, capitalizing on that could be the difference in this football game. Now, I will give Jordan Love credit. He's only been sacked 14 times. He hasn't been sacked much in the last 8 games. He's been playing good. He's been playing smart, getting rid of the ball, going through his reads. Jalen, on the other hand, has been sacked 38 times this season. I don't want to talk too much about the week 1 matchup because I think those were completely different teams. But Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts have both been playing decent football, right? I mean, Jalen, it's actually been really good until he got injured. But Jordan Love has the chance to make some of these big plays. However, I think how the Eagles are defensively built and what their strategy is we're going to build from the back moving forward. I guess you could say the same about Green Bay. They also have a pass rush committee similar to the Eagles. If we look at the defensive lines, I mean, Rashawn Gary's their leading sack getter with 7.5. They don't have that game changer. You could say the same about the Eagles with Josh Sweat being their main sack guy. And yeah, they're going to have to get pressure, but the Eagles have done it on a more dominant scale this season. However, the secondary is where it's key, because the Green Bay Packers are missing their best secondary player in Jair Alexander. He's only played, like 7 games? Yeah, 7 games for Jair Alexander. He's their best corner. Sure, this guy Valentine and a couple others have stepped in big time. Xavier McKinney is certainly a game changer. He picked off Hurts in week 1. Don't want to put the ball in harm's way. Yes, Jalen will have to make those big plays. Yes, he's going to have to make a couple big down the field throws once that defense starts to creep up on Saquon. But coming into this game, the approach has to be get Hurts comfortable, get him in his rhythm, let him do his thing. And the Eagles secondary is way stronger. Like in week 1, Jordan Love is going to utilize his big target here, Jaden Reed. In week 1, that was his guy. He had over 130 receiving yards. But here's the difference. It's not Avonte Maddox anymore. It is Cooper DeJean. It is the stud rookie who has been shutting everybody down. By the way, Quinyon Mitchell, shutting everybody down. Darius Slay, shutting everybody down. CJ Gardner-Johnson, big hitter. Reed Blankenship. So the Eagles secondary is healthier. They are more well put together. And the Vic Fangio philosophy has really, really elevated this Eagles defense. They hit hard, obviously have to make their tackles. Packers are going to be a team that tries to utilize a lot of yak. They're going to throw these short routes and, try to let them break ones off because they're not going to get a lot of deep balls against the Eagles secondary. Simple as that. Plus, Christian Watson, their best deep threat, 21 yards per catch, is out with a torn ACL. So it's Jaden Reed against Cooper DeJean. I like Cooper's chances in that matchup. Tucker Kraft, tight end, 707 yards, 7 touchdowns. Guess what? Eagles have Zach Bond, first-team All-Pro linebacker. Nakobe Dean's going to have his work cut out for him, especially against Josh Jacobs. But overall, I think the Eagles' defense is in a much better position against this Packers team. They've been dominant all season long, and I think they're going to be able to do it yet again. Now, my last key of this game is the coaching battle. That's right. We've talked about Nick Sirianni. We've given him a lot of credit. At the end of the day, here's where it matters, right? I mean, yeah, it matters in the regular season, but you got to manage the clock well. Matt LaFleur is under fire with the Packers because he has not managed the clock well, especially in that game last week against Chicago. Nick Sirianni's been pretty solid. One thing to keep your eye on in this game, in fourth and short situations, especially, third, fourth quarter, got to get points on the board. What do they do with Jake Elliott? Because right now, I'm not 100% confident in Jake Elliott. I'd say I'm like, 60, 70. Some games he comes in, he's perfect. Other games he cannot hit anywhere near the upright. So will Nick Sirianni go for it on fourth downs? Will they utilize the brotherly shove with Jalen back in? How do they use Jalen? Is he going to run? Will they keep him healthy? Things to keep your mind on. But I think Nick Sirianni's going to outcoach Matt LaFleur. I do. And I think the youth and the inexperience, yes, they were here last year. These Eagles guys, some of them were here in 2022, right? They saw what it was like to fall just short, including Jalen Hurts, and I think it's going to give them an advantage. So I give Green Bay credit. They're a good team. I think the way they try to win this game is by keeping it close, by utilizing Josh Jacobs early, getting him a lot of carries, and not letting the ball go back into the hands of the Eagles a lot. But I think the Eagles are better. I think they're dominant. They have more talent. I like A.J. Brown against Eric Stokes. I like Devontae Smith, who almost had 1,000 yards despite only playing 13. AJ didn't even play a full 17. He had 1,000 yards. Dallas Goedert is back. Eagles O-line is better. In almost every margin, the Eagles are better. If Jalen Hurts plays a clean football game, and maybe this Eagles defense can force an early turnover, if they can just come out like they have all season and bully this team and hit them in the mouth, I like the Eagles' chances. So that's where I'm at. It's going to be a great game. I give Green Bay credit. I think they'll keep this game close, but I'm going to pick the Eagles in a cold January football game, 28-23 at the link. I think the Eagles defense gets a big stop in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles run out the clock with Saquon Barkley. That's my official prediction. Packers have kept a lot of games close this year. They're not going to get it done against the Eagles. The Eagles will prevail. Give me your thoughts and predictions down in the comment section. As always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'll catch you on the next one.
On BetMGM Casino, there are so many jackpots that you never know when one will go. So many jackpots. So many jackpots. BetMGM Casino. Jackpots. So many.
Download to get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 on the house. BetMGM Casino.